So parkour is happening here in London, and when parkour happens, you know what happens in terms of camera gear. We are reviewing some gimbals. Today we review two action cameras gimbals, the Hohem iSteady Pro 4 and the Inkee Falcon. We're gonna review them, test them and compare them side by side. I actually reviewed the iSteady Pro yesterday. Go and check the review, and I think I was a bit hard on it. That's why I want to compare it with another gimbal, and I've got the Inkee Falcon with the GoPro Hero 8 while I'm using the GoPro Hero 10 on the Hohem iSteady Pro 4. Let's rock and roll some B-roll.
That's great. First try.
We're back in the studios and we're gonna go through different categories. We're going to assign one vote to each gimbal for each category and see which one is gonna reach the first place at the end of the video. I'm also gonna share my opinion on which gimbal I prefer and the reasons why I do so. We're gonna start from the price. Well, the iSteady Pro 4 comes at the price of £68 at the moment. You find all the links in the description tab. The Inkee Falcon comes at the price of 119, so almost double the price of the iSteady. So if you're looking for a cheap gimbal for your action cameras, well, we need to give a tick to the iSteady Pro 4. The next categories is gonna be what comes with the gimbal, what's in the box. The Hohem iSteady Pro 4 comes with the case, a carrying case, which is always a great option, and also with different types of cables to connect the gimbal to different devices, apart from the charging cable, of course. The Falcon comes in a quite cheap box, to be honest, especially the inside of the box. It comes with a charging cable, two Allen keys to balance your camera on top of the gimbal. For the carrying case, I give the vote to the iSteady Pro. Compatibility, this time we're gonna start from the Inkee Falcon, and we can mount on the Falcon the GoPro Heroes from 5 up to 10. We can also mount GoPro Session and the DJI Osmo Action. Insta 360, and I guess that's it. So all the action cameras, they have the GoPro mount. In terms of controlling wirelessly the cameras, we can only control from the gimbal the Hero from 5 to 9. So you can't control the Hero 10 on the Inkee Falcon. The iSteady Pro 4 instead can hold cameras from the Hero from 3 to 10, the DJI Osmo Action, Insta 360 1R, and also the Sony RX0 and similar action cameras with the same size and weight. Because we don't have the GoPro mount, but we have a spring buckle, so it can just fit all the action cameras with this size. Also, in terms of controlling wirelessly your cameras, you can control Heroes from 5 to 10, so the 10 is included in the iSteady Pro, and the vote goes to this gimbal once again. Size, weight and portability. Definitely the Falcon is smaller, especially when used without the tripod. Without the tripod, the length of the gimbal is 20 centimeters. With the close tripod, as you see right now, we reach 30 centimeters. The iSteady Pro 4 without the tripod measures more or less 25 centimeters, so 5 centimeters bigger than the Falcon, and with the tripod we reach exactly the same length of the Falcon with the tripod, which is 30 centimeters. Talking about this category, the weight, the Falcon is 310 grams, the iSteady Pro 4 365, so I think the vote this time goes to the Falcon. Payload capacity, that's what we're gonna talk about next. The Falcon can hold cameras up to 200 grams, while the iSteady 4, and I don't understand why, only 150 grams. So vote to the Inkee Falcon. Pitting! Battery life and battery features. That's an interesting one. Inkee Falcon has an internal battery, rechargeable of course. It lasts up to 9 hours. While the iSteady Pro, still a built-in battery lasting up to 14 hours. But the great feature of this gimbal is that you can use the internal battery as a power bank for your camera. Through a cable, you can attach the battery of the gimbal to your GoPro or action camera and double the battery life of it. So definitely my vote goes to the iSteady Pro 4. The next is going to be the ease to mount an action camera and balance the action camera on the gimbal. Let's start from the Inkee Falcon. Here you have the GoPro mount, as we said, on the gimbal, and to attach your camera on the gimbal you need the screw, which is the standard GoPro screw, but also you need an Allen key to balance your gimbal, and you need to balance 2 different axes. So it takes a bit of time here. iSteady Pro 4, you don't need any tool. We have a spring buckle here on the mount. There's not actually a GoPro mount, and that's why you can fit all the other different action cameras. And it's very quick to either mount the camera and balance it, because actually you don't need to balance the gimbal, which is great for the first time users. Simply you open up the buckle and you insert your camera and you're ready to go. So the tick goes to the iSteady Pro. Build and design. We need to talk here. Inkee Falcon, very simple design. All the body and the tripod are made of plastic, apart from the gimbal, which I think is made of metal. So it gives you that professional feel, and also the feel that's gonna last a bit longer. What I like is the wide tripod, so it makes your gimbal quite steady, but the grip, being a smaller gimbal, is not that great, because sometimes with your hand you can actually cover the joystick or the record button and you might press them by accident. Let's talk about the iSteady Pro 4. All made of plastic, including the gimbal, so the feel is a bit cheaper compared to the Falcon, in my opinion. What I really don't like is the tiny tripod. That barely holds the tripod in a straight way upright. So definitely that's something to be improved. It's chunkier compared to the Falcon, but for that reason it has a better grip. In my first review about the iSteady Pro, I found a few design issues, and I recommend to go and check them out to get into more depth about those. But here you have a screw thread on the side to which you can attach possibly a light or an external monitor, which is a great feature. But once again, I faced some issues and some features are useless because of the design. Very important to me was not being able to really touch the screen in a great way. Also because the touchscreen of the GoPro is not great in the first place, in my opinion, so it still doesn't work as it should. And having the frame in front of your screen makes it even more difficult to reach some settings and options. So my vote, for simplicity and just for the look, and because we have a metal gimbal, goes to the Falcon. How to operate, modes and buttons, we're gonna talk about this in the next category. Well, honestly, I would call it a draw because they are more or less identical. We have the power button in the front, we have the mode button through which you can go through the different modes of the gimbal, of course, and we have the joystick. The only thing which is different is the trigger button in the front. Basically, on the Falcon, if you tap it 3 times, you can go in selfie mode, so the camera spins 180 degrees towards yourself. That doesn't happen on the iSteady Pro 4. I mean, not a big issue, you can just rotate your gimbal and the effect is the same. You have the pan follow mode, you have the pan and tilt follow mode, the POV, which is for faster action movements. You also have the inception mode where the camera rotates 360 degrees, and you can shoot in horizontal and vertical mode on either the devices. So I would give kudos to either of them. Ding ding! Apps. So I'm not a great user of apps, but still they're quite identical. Again, very user-friendly, I think, and quite easy to understand, especially how to balance and set up your gimbals. The only thing which is different is that on the iSteady Pro 4, you can create motion lapses, and that's through the app, and you can do that remotely, while you can't do that on the Falcon. You can still create motion time lapses, of course, because you can set up the time lapse on the action camera, and then with the joystick you can move your gimbal. But here on the iSteady Pro 4, you can actually set up a route for your gimbal and it will do it automatically. So definitely that gets some kudos. iSteady Pro 4. And last but not the least, actually the most important category is the stabilization. Checking the footage, and you have seen that in the beginning of this video, there's no doubt the iSteady Pro is overtaking the Falcon in my opinion. And that's with a heavier camera, because the GoPro 10 is heavier than the GoPro Hero 8. I think on the Falcon you can really see more shakiness, the up and downs, and in general it's a bit less stable than the iSteady Pro 4. And maybe that's why it's called iSteady. So without any extra thinking, the vote goes to the iSteady Pro 4. Okay, now I'm gonna give you my feedback, and I'm gonna share what I think about the gimbals. Once again, I was very hard, I think, in the first review with the iSteady Pro 4, and that's why it's great to compare the different tools. When I started the review, and probably because my mindset was already quite negative about the gimbal by Hohem, I thought the Falcon was gonna win the competition. Now I'm actually giving my vote to the iSteady Pro 4 for these following reasons. As I just mentioned, the stabilization, which is the most important reason why you should buy a gimbal. I don't think there was any doubt there. It's a cheaper gimbal as well compared to the Falcon, almost half of the price. So again, if you're looking after your wallet, that's the one. It's a bigger gimbal, yes, and you might want to go for a tiny smaller one, but when you actually have the tripods on, as we mentioned, the size is more or less exactly the same. Plus, on the iSteady Pro, you have a better grip, especially if you have bigger hands. It's great to have the option to create motion time lapses remotely. It's something I don't use personally, but you might be interested in, and it's good to have the option, as it's also good to have the option to attach different accessories through the screw thread on the side of the gimbal, something you can't do even if you wanted to on the Falcon. So there's not screw threads or any type of connections to attach any accessory. A reason that makes also the iSteady Pro more versatile and more accessible for vloggers. If you are a vlogger and you want a light or an extra monitor, or you might find your way to actually attach an external microphone without influencing the weight of the camera, well, the iSteady Pro is probably a better gimbal. On the wish list though, for the Hohem iSteady Pro 4 for me is a bigger tripod, something like the one on the Falcon, because again, it doesn't stand as safely. You can just see how much he shakes. Being able to support properly an external microphone, better visibility of the screen, and in particular being able to use the screen fully and properly. I really want to know your opinion, so drop a comment down here. Let me know which one you would actually get if you had to get a gimbal for your action camera. Very interesting to hear what you think. And that's all. I hope the video helped. As always, consider to subscribe. I will see you in the next one. Ciao belli.